Hello guys, Leon here. Recently there's been a lot of talk about fasting in the raw meat and self-healers protocol community, and I quickly want to give my opinion on it since I've done a couple of fasts. Is fasting good? Is fasting bad? Is it natural? Let's get started. So, Jonas van der Planides often says fasting is bad, or used to say fasting is bad. He would encourage eating every 3 to 4 hours to get protein and nutrients to the body. Most of his followers are probably somewhat glucoholic. They're probably not always in a state of ketosis, which of course is ideal. So they are often switching from glucose to ketosis, from switching being fueled by glucose to being fueled by fats. So uh, from carb burning to fat burning. So that might have been stressful to their body, and they believe that leaving their body without leaving the body without essential nutrients at all times is a problem. Which maybe it's fair. Then darko velcek is generally of the opinion that fasting is good. Fasting allows the body to not spend energy on digestion. It can spend more energy into the cleansing process. The mind is most of the time clearer. You will allow for a big detox. And if you're not eating, you're not consuming toxins. You're generally consuming less things that can age you, less things that can interfere with your process. So, highly beneficial, right? Especially if you have excess fat, you can definitely fast according to Darko Velcek. Well, I've read Dark's articles on fasting, and I think he has really good points on the topic. But recently, something came up in my mind, and especially while listening to Raw Ancestral's story of his recent fasting experience and my own fasting experience, I think I have something quite informational to say about the topic. First of all animals should be in ketosis, dummy. Even these dogs should be in ketosis if we weren't feeding them garbage kibble with carbs. They would all be in ketosis, burning their fat, eating their raw meat. But we're ruining that for them. Look at them, they're so sad. Anyways, if you're in ketosis, fasting is 10 times easier. You're probably gonna enter a fasted state as soon as your body is done digesting the recent meal that you had. So, and especially when you're fasting, you're still gonna be in ketosis. So your body's fat adapted, it's running on fat, and because that is the case, it will not have to switch, it will not be stressful for the body. And if you have adequate fat storage and adequate nutrition from your last meals, fasting will not be a problem. If you look at nature, fasting does only occur in certain situations. So, when no food is available, let's say you're hunting, let's say you're in a famine, uh, there's no food, that will probably give you a stressful state. So, I don't think fasting is always good. Most animals will eat when they get a chance, most humans will eat when they get a chance, when they have the food. So, that is something to that's a decent counter argument against fasting. I do think if you want to eat, if you're used to eating and you suddenly have no food, the body and the mind is going to be in a quite stressful state. Normally, animals, humans, or generally animals, tend to fast when they get sick or ill. They will not have an appetite, their body will be focused on cleansing, and this makes sense. If your body is fasting, you don't have to deal with digestion. Your body generally does not need the extra nutrients to run the healing processes and prefers being left alone, being not hassled around with by having to digest stuff. It prefers fasting and not being interfered with. Uh, Same is for so when you're recovering, sleeping, healing, you're essentially always in a, if you're following the proper diet, always in a fasted state because that's the most efficient state to be in. So that will go against John's views that you always need protein because the body and even people on improper diets will tend to move towards fasting when they're sick intuitively. Uh, if you look at carnivores, animals with at carnivores and natures, those are often animals which eat a large amount of meat and then fast for quite some time, up to days, weeks, months, years. They just eat one big meal and then they chill. Sometimes they chill because they're in winter sleep. They lower their bodily activity, they burn less fuel, they need less fuel, and they burn through their resources that they have attained in their fat storage, or they just turn off most of their system so they can live and fast for a long time. Hey, valid. We see this happening when it's cold outside, when the animals think they will have a rough time. Um, it's a survival strategy, and we see it in a lot of carnivores. And as we are carnivores, this is probably relevant to us too. If you look at herbivores, they often, because they are not eating meat, they're often eating grass or other types of vegetation. They will need to eat all day to feed their bacteria in the gut to get enough nutrition. So they will need to be constantly be eating. But if you're eating nutrient-dense food, like most carnivores, and then eating a large amount, like when you get a kill, you probably don't have to eat a lot of food a lot of time. You can go for large meals and then not eat for a long time. So yeah, you will be in a fasted and ketose state of not going to do that good diet and probably a natural state. Let's say you have a big meat meal or eat a lot. Your body, if you're well nourished or have been on a diet in a long time and understand your body, you will probably tend to not want to eat for a day or not want to eat for at least 16 to 24 hours, especially if you're on plasma, especially if you have enough minerals. I find myself generally drawn to not eating if I've had a, a big meal, especially if it's very fatty, especially if it has sufficient protein for my needs. If my needs are met, I don't need to eat more. As I was talking about my experience, I have done 2 11-day fasts and some shorter ones. Plasma fasting makes it a lot easier because you're getting minerals. Those are not always supplied in most people's diets. And so if the protein and fat are provided by my fat storage and or my previous meals, and let's say I'm not working out, I'm not uh, bringing in more needs for the protein to be there, I can probably chill on fasting for a longest time, probably for my fat storage, for fat stores, and the body obviously recycles a lot of proteins in its system, and you can last for a longest time. Uh, I find myself still having to use a bit of discipline while fasting, which I don't think is the right choice per se, or that it comes naturally. I think fasting ideally should come from the body having an excess of nutrients and then just wanting to be in an optimal state of regeneration and or cognition or consciousness. And I think as the healthier you get and the healthier you get in the best environment, as you get healthier and as you experience a better environment, you will be able to go longer with minimal food and therefore be able to fast longer. So that's the opinion I'm kind of gaining. But fasting can still be a great tool, especially if you're really sick or you don't have good food available or stuff like that. It's definitely can be worth it. But if you're thinking about when fasting would naturally occur, it's when you have an abundance of vitamins, minerals, nutrients, and you just don't need more. That makes no sense to me. So yeah, so especially when you have a lot of fat, the body stores. I think if you're lean, you're gonna probably have less a harder time fasting, especially if you haven't been on a proper diet for a long time. And it also depends on your environment. If you're working out a lot, if you're moving a lot, if you're sporting a lot, if you're doing sports a lot, those are all texture body, and you will be able to fast for less time. Your body will tell you that. So, but what brought this discussion upon myself was kind of Mikeybreathes' opinion. He is a guy who is very much into a lot of the opinions the darko velcek has as well. But he says fasting is bad. But he himself has claimed to fast up to 66 days while already being relatively lean. So what this guy does is he follows a pretty decent diet. I don't think he's full raw animal foods, but he eats raw animal foods. He eats some other stuff too. He's a bit of a weird guy. I think he eats like flowers and shit, but he eats like once every 7, 20, 60 days. He's building it up as he gets healthier. Uh, he eats once, he eats a fuck ton, he eats like all day, and then he fasts for a long time. And his opinion is, people fasting is stressful if you do it on purpose. Your body shouldn't automatically fast because you are fueled, you have all the minerals, you have all the nutrients, and you are in the best state and you are not harmed. Let's say you live on a tropical island and you have all the resources you need. You're bathing in the seawater every day, your environment is perfect, you're just not hungry. Is it even fasting? I mean, you're not purposely going without food. It's not a religious practice anymore, you're just not hungry. Uh, so yeah, his opinion was, and what I was talking about with my own experience, uh, since he mentioned this has opened up my eyes, is when you have enough nutrients, when you have enough vitamins, when you have enough minerals, and you eat this all during a certain period of time, and you are in the right environment, your body uh, will just be fasted. It will just be in a not hungry state. Uh, he also claims that Mikeybreathes also claims that he does not consume water or minerals for that sense. I think this has a lot to do with the environment that he's in. Maybe he's lying, who knows. But plasma will definitely make fasting a lot easier because you're just giving your body a large supply of minerals, which will definitely help. And I find myself when I'm plasma fasting, it really helps, especially because I'm still in a quite a toxic environment with all the air pollution and chemtrails and that stuff. So yeah, he kind of eats like uh, a natural carnivore. He does big ass meals and then he doesn't eat for a long time because he's seemingly in the right environment with the right mental state. So yeah, his message really resonated with me, and I think this piece of fasting is missing. I think a lot of people nowadays are like trying to force themselves to fast. Well, I think it should be more of a natural occurrence as we get healthier and healthier to be in a fasted state. So yeah, the conclusion is if the body is satisfied with adequate nutrition, minerals, vitamins, following a proper diet for quite some time, you have adequate fat stores and minimal toxins and stressors. The less toxins and stressors you have, and the minimal food you will need to sustain yourself, and you will be able to fast for a long time. Uh, Fasting means there's no digestion, meaning regeneration of the body is boosted and an optimal state is achieved. Fasting essentially opens the third eye. You can see beyond your basic necessities for a while. If you don't have to eat, you can think about other stuff. I think it really opens up your horizons in a certain way, and I definitely think it's arguably the most optimal state for humans. Let's say if the basics are taken care of, you can go further, you can explore further, you can expand your knowledge, expand your purpose. So yeah, I don't think we should force ourselves to fast. It can definitely be a tool, but I think naturally we will all come to fast more, just because our body does not need certain things anymore. Uh, so yeah, some may say or claim that since the start of human existence, we chose to eat food, we chose to indulge, we chose to be gluttonous, and that might be true. And I think if we reach an optimal state, you're gonna have to eat less and less food to sustain yourself, and you will maybe come closer to that state once again. And I think that can be highly beneficial, especially if you don't have a lot of money, especially if you just don't want to deal with eating food. Maybe you don't like eating. I don't know. Most people like eating for pleasure, and I think it's definitely valid to still eat. Uh, but it's a good idea that you might not have to eat to sustain yourself properly. And I think a fasted state will be your optimal cognitive state and the right state to reach a higher consciousness of being a human being. So yeah, that's what I think about fasting. I hope you guys enjoyed. I think I gave a bit of an interesting perspective on the fasting situation. So yeah, guys, if you have any questions, message me. If you guys want to learn more about Self-Care Protocol, read Darko's work, check out his YouTube, check out his BitChute, and check out his WordPress page. See you guys.